Last year it seemed like I was the only dude not riding the shaman train, which sounds like a concept out of a lost book of Jim Morrison's high school poetry. Riding the shaman train. He's so deep. But a north of 5-ounce knife with a 3-inch cutting edge didn't really sound appealing. A lot of people loved it though. My Spyderco Military has a nearly 3 3/4-inch cutting edge and weighs an ounce less. So all of this means I'll probably review a Shaman in 6 months. However, for a while I've been waiting for the Spyderco Caribbean. You're like, it's Caribbean, idiot. Sorry, I used the Billy O'Shean pronunciation. The new rust-free series of knives from Spyderco that promises to cost approximately 1/3 the price of an actual Caribbean vacation. It has a longer blade than my Paramilitary 2, looks real sassy, got a compression lock, and weighs only a fraction more at 4.09 ounces. Having a rust-free knife is going to be great because I can just leave it outside for days in puddles or, wet grass, like I did my DeWalt drill a few days ago. And now the goddamn LED light won't turn off. Anyway, while I sit and contemplate how forgetful I'm going to be when I really get old, because I can't keep my shit together at 38, let's look at the dimensions of this beer. Sorry, machete, or whatever the hell it is we're doing right now. Like the overall length and weight. Looks like a fish or a tiger or tiger fish. Is that a thing? Blade size, cutting edge. Do you like 1/2 inch of blade being taken up by a choil? Like the Shaman. Handle size, grip area. I really am asking, who prefers holding a knife with the choil versus the handle? I don't. I assume some people do, because those knives are popular. Spine thickness, handle thickness. The native is pretty popular, and I believe that's what the Shaman is based off of. I always thought it was wasted cutting edge and just adds weight. Tallness. I'm not saying I'm right and you're wrong. Wait, what if I said it like this? I'm not saying I'm right and you're wrong. Passive-aggressive knife, bro. The Spyderco Caribbean is a new for 2018 knife from Spyderco Knife and Tool Company made in Taiwan, which is an island in the Caribbean. Advanced geography, bro. A lot of my nicer Spydercos are made in Taiwan, and I've seen little evidence in manufacturing between their USA, Japanese, Taiwanese, or Chinese manufactured knives, and I owned knives from all of those places. The Spyderco Caribbean comes in 4 blade styles. 2 are serrated, 2 are plain edge, 2 are sheep's foot, and 2 are not. So 4 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 equals... I chose a leaf shape, non-serrated, because it has a pointier tip than the sheep's foot. I like pointy tips for piercing packages of other knives I've purchased, although the sheep's foot might be better for slicing and chopping if you hold the tip of a knife like TV chef Guy Fieri. The Caribbean features a blade made from LC200, and which is a rust-free stainless steel, not to be confused with the stainless steel, which can still rust. Spyderco has used H1 rust-proof steel in many of its salt line of knives for years. The LC200N is a different formulation of rust-proof steel, said to have better edge retention and also cost more, meaning longer times between sharpening and less money in your pocket. Now it must be noted the advantages to a rust-proof steel would be better represented on a fixed blade knife, just steel and handle scales, and I guess maybe some stainless steel screws, I don't know. The Spyderco Caribbean also uses a stainless steel liner and screws, none of which are claimed to be rust-proof. So if you treat your knife like your spare time, which is watching this YouTube channel, or like garbage, and leave it damp, don't be surprised if you see rust pop up in areas made of stainless steel. Just make sure you have your shots and you'll be good. The blade has a similar style to the Spyderco Tenacious and also a full flat grind, but it's larger, and on the blade you see some stylishly written characters, SAL, which I assume stands for soft screws and Loctite. And someone says, that's a stretch. No, I'm serious, I bought a stretch and I stripped out the pivot without even trying. Behind the edge, my shitty calipers say it's 0.32 of a millimeter. This is thinner than my Paramilitary 2, which I'm getting at about 0.58, 59 millimeters. So this should make the Caribbean very slicey. Deployment is by the spider hole, middle finger or thumb. I prefer the middle finger deployment because my middle finger is better placed. It's easy, right? Smooth, consistent deployments as the blade pivots on phosphor, bronze, washers. It looks nice now, but out-of-the-box deployments were slower and harder to get every time. I needed to adjust the pivot slightly so I could deploy and close easily. Compared to what it is now, its action sucked out of the box and I almost threw it right in the trash. It doesn't pop out quite as snappily as my Yojimbo 2, which seems to have a better detent, but it's about as good as a well broken in paramilitary 2. It is possible to fling the blade downward to get it to open, and yes, like a lot of Spydercos in the joke alluded to earlier, the screws are soft, so be careful, man. Lockup is handled by a compression lock, and if you don't own any, it's sort of like a liner lock. Not exactly, but a similar idea to one. So that means a patent, I guess. Sal gotta eat. Before you explain the differences to me, I'll just link the Spyderco forums thread down below and say I read it, and it's not exactly the same. Compression locks are nice because to disengage in theory, or I guess in practice, I don't know, you may be horrible at closing knives, you have to move your fingers out of the way of the closing blade to release the compression lock. So a good broken in lock, you press and flick to close. If you get it timed well, you can flick it closed perfectly. It's hard for me to do though. So a compression lock might be said to make a knife easier to close for idiots. The handle. It's something to behold. It's machined and milled G10, alternating layers of faded yellow and black when you view the cross section. And on the surface there's raised and polished black G10 stripes and recessed yellow G10. It gives a fair amount of grip in the hand without feeling obnoxious. It has that ocean-dwelling animal vibe and would look at home on the ocean floor for when you eventually drop it in over the side of the boat while fishing. If you look inside, you'll see a liner that is not only nested and skeletonized, but the round cutouts in the liner for weight saving also have raised G10 to where it's flush. See, if you look in there, it's like a nice flush look. So that means you have less of a chance of pockets of filth or fish slime in your holes, making it easier to clean. If you look at my Endura 4, you'll see what I mean. Those round liner holes hold guts much easier. The pocket clip. The pocket clip is the classic functional style like on my Endura, except it's made out of bead blasted titanium here, because people would bitch if it wasn't on a $160 knife. It's not deep carry, and nearly 3/4 of an inch sticks out, so people technically still will have something to bitch about. Don't worry, I assume someone already has a $30 deep carry pocket clip in the works. That should do you fine. The clip is tip up and reversible to the right or left side. Out of the box, it came positioned perfectly. Comparison time. Let's do a shot of other Spyderco knives I own. They give you a good idea of the size of this knife and my spending habits. The Caribbean is one of the bigger Spydercos, or one of my bigger Spydercos. Not stupid big like the K2, but a reasonable larger everyday carry. It is a bit too early to tell depending on how I like the steel over time, but I think this may be my favorite Spyderco in a while. I see this one getting more pocket time than my paramilitary 2. It's larger, has a larger handle, almost imperceptibly heavier, and just as fidgetable. It's a more unique looking knife, and I could see a whole future of sprint runs in different colored G10 and different steels that people can buy up and flip for more on the secondary market. Sounds like a win-win. The paramilitary 2. It's been my favorite Spyderco for a while. I like the military for its larger size and weight, and the Endura 4 because it's an old favorite and still under $100, which I guess is a cheap knife now. But this knife has improved on the paramilitary 2 because it's larger proportions without increasing much weight. Remember, bigger is always better, no exceptions. Both are fidget friendly. A square might prefer the looks of the paramilitary 2 and the smoother handle. I like the texture on the Caribbean, but some might not. Now the Benchmade Fact, another favorite knife. It's light, got a long blade and handle. The handle on the Caribbean is nicer in the hand, although the Fact is way more tactical. I'm gonna have to go with the tactical one, bro. Spyderco Endura 4, lighter, cheaper, maybe easier to sharpen as the cutting edge doesn't go quite as close to the handle as it does on the Caribbean. Slower deployer, harder close. That's about it. I'm feeling pretty strongly about the Caribbean right now, and it might be my most preferred everyday carry at the moment, and I haven't even been drinking much. Okay, let's wrap it up. Provided this one is over 10 minutes. Remember the 10-minute rule. The Caribbean is a cool knife. Cool like a YouTube channel. Just because other people don't like it or like the looks doesn't mean I don't have to. I have to not like it. I don't have to not like it. I'm not sure what I'm talking about anymore. It has a nice long blade and excellent utility in food prep knife because of its rust-free qualities for people who don't like wiping down their blade. It's a great knife with a textured handle that even maintains grip in the wet. Pig blood, moose urine, horse semen, all tested by me. Oh yeah, I guess separately that all sounds kind of weird. Sorry, I'm in a satanic death cult. I hope that clears it up. I mean, rubber handles might work better, but it's still nice. The long, thin, slicey blade might not hold up as a harder use blade, because in theory thinner edges sometimes need more maintenance. But again, we'll have to see how I like the steel over time, and how often I need to sharpen it up. If you like this sort of review, maybe you're not in a satanic death cult, you could subscribe to the channel anyway, give the video a thumbs up, hail Satan, leave a comment, thanks for watching.